Hi there, and welcome to our guide on how to set up artwork for a perfect bound book. In this video, I will be walking you through how to set up your artwork in Adobe InDesign. I will show you how to set up your document, lay out your pages, and how to export your artwork for print. Before we get into it, there are a couple of things you will need to consider before you even think about opening InDesign. First things first, you will need to have a good idea of what size book you want. Fortunately for you, we offer a wide range of shapes and sizes, so you'll have plenty of options to choose from. Next, you will need to consider how many pages your book is likely to need. For perfect bound books, we start at 32 pp and go right up to 300 pp. If you're thinking, that's more pages than I need, you should consider going for a stapled bound booklet instead. We recommend that you iron out the size and page count first, as this will cause you less headaches when it comes to setting up your artwork. Speaking from experience, it's no fun having to resize your artwork to fit a different sized book, and having to cram or pad it out into less or more pages is a real nightmare. For the purposes of this tutorial, I will be showing you how to set up an A5 40-page perfect bound book. Although the size and page count may not match the ones you have chosen, don't worry, all of the other specs will match. When we get to the size and page count section of the tutorial, just type in the size and page count you want your book to be. Okay, are we ready to get started? Let's begin. Start by opening up InDesign. Click File, which is located in the top left-hand corner. Hover over New and click Document. This will bring up what is called a New Document dialog box. Alternatively, hold down Ctrl and press N on your keyboard, or Command and N if you're using a Mac. Once the box appears, you will notice a group of input fields on the right-hand side, under the heading, Preset Details. This is where we will be typing in the specs needed to set up our book document. Before we start, quickly check to see if the units drop-down is set to millimeters. If it's not, click on the drop-down and change it. Once our units of measurement are correct, move across to the width and height boxes and type in your book size. For me, it will be 148 in the width box and 210 in height. Next, move down to pages and type in your desired page count -2. This may seem strange, but the reason we recommend doing this is because the first 2 pages will become your outside and inside cover pages. After you have typed in your page count, go ahead and untick the Facing Pages box next to it, assuming it is ticked. This will set your document up as individual pages. Moving down, make sure your start number is set to 1 and the primary text frame box is unticked. If either of these settings appears differently, change them so that they match what's on screen. Unless you like to set your document up to include columns, you can ignore the columns and columns gutter section, as they are not important here. Instead, jump straight to the margin settings. The margins are going to serve as your safe area indicators. For all of our perfect bound books, we recommend a 3 mm safe area from the top, bottom and left edges of your book, and a 10 mm safe area from the right edge. We recommend a 10 mm safe area on the inside edge to avoid any important information on your design falling into the gutter created by the spine. Before typing in the margin settings box, make sure the chain link icon is showing as unlinked. If it's not, toggle it off by clicking the icon. When the chain icon is showing as unlinked, set the top, bottom and left margins to 3 mm and the right margin to 10 mm. The last adjustment we'll need to make is the bleed. We ask you to include 3 mm of bleed on all 4 edges of your artwork. So, go ahead and set the bleed to 3 mm on all 4 edges. For this section, you can leave the linked chain icon as linked, as this will change all the edges at the same time. If it's unlinked, you will have to type in 3 mm individually. You don't need to adjust the slug settings right at the bottom, but do make sure they are all set to 0 mm. Give your settings a final once over and make sure that they're all correct. Once you're happy with everything, click Create. And voila! You've successfully completed the first stage of your document setup. For the next part, you're going to want to set up your outside and inside cover pages. This is where setting up your file with 2 pages less is about to make sense. Now, some of you may be asking, how do I know what size my covers need to be? Fortunately for you, we have a handy feature on our website that tells you the measurements of your covers, including the spine. If you're unsure about what size your covers need to be, head over to our Perfect Bound Books product page, input your product specs for your book, and copy the last part of the cover and spine calculation. Once you've got your cover dimensions, head back to InDesign and go to your Tools panel, which is usually located on the left-hand side, and click on Page Tool. Alternatively, hold down Shift and hit P on your keyboard. You should notice the options below the main navigation bar at the top change. Now that you have your Page Tool set up ready, locate the Pages panel, which is usually found on the right-hand side of the screen. If you can't find it, hit F12 on your keyboard, or click Window on the top navigation bar, scroll down and click on Pages. Once you have the Pages panel open, select the first 2 pages by clicking on Page 1 and then holding down Shift on your keyboard and clicking on Page 2, like so. Now that the first 2 pages are highlighted, head to the Page Tool settings at the top of the program and click into the W box, which denotes the width of the page. Highlight the current number and paste in the dimensions you just copied from the spine calculator. Once you have populated this box, hit Enter on your keyboard and you will see the pages below expand outwardly. You have now set up your inside and outside covers to the correct dimensions, including the spine. You will notice on the 2 cover pages the margins are still set to 10 mm on the right-hand edge. Because this edge is no longer a spine edge, we will need to change it so that they are set to 3 mm on all 4 edges. Seeing as though we already have the 2 pages selected, we can quickly fix this by adjusting the margin settings. We can do this by finding the margins options under Layout in the top navigation bar. Click on Layout and scroll down to Margins and Columns and click. This will open up the Margins and Columns window. You will see the Margins dimensions boxes are situated at the top, and you will notice that the right margin is set to 10 mm. Make sure the chain link icon in the middle of the dimensions boxes is unlinked. Highlight the number 10 in the right margin box and type in 3. Once you've done that, click the OK button and this will update the margins on the 2 cover pages. Now the margins have been updated, we can go ahead and add some guides to the cover pages to indicate where the spine is. We can achieve this by dragging the guides from the rulers at the top and left-hand side of the document. If you cannot see the rulers on your screen, click on View in the main navigation, move down and click Show Rulers. Alternatively, you can toggle them on and off by holding down Control or Command and hitting R on your keyboard. A nifty little trick I like to do to set my spine guides up is to utilize the Rectangle Frame tool. Head to your Tools panel and select the Rectangle Frame tool, or press F on your keyboard. You will notice your cursor has turned into crosshairs. Click anywhere on the page and you will see a Rectangle Dimensions dialog box pop up. Here we are going to input the finished size of our book into the width and height boxes. My book is an A5, so I will put 148 in the width box and 210 in the height. Once you've done this, hit OK or Enter on your keyboard. A box outline will now appear on screen. From here, head to the toolbar and click on the Selection tool, or press V on your keyboard. Use the Selection tool to move the box outline to the left corner of the cover page. Line up the box outline top and left edges with the top and left edge of the cover page. You might want to zoom in here for accuracy. Once the box outline is in place, hold down Alt on your keyboard and use your mouse to click on the box and drag it to the right. You will notice that you have made an exact copy of the first box. Line this box up to the top and right edge of the cover page, like so. Again, you may want to zoom in to help you place it. You will notice there is now a gap between the 2 boxes. This is your spine. I'm now going to drag 2 horizontal guides from the left ruler and line them up with the inner edges of both boxes. Once I've done that, I can now delete the 2 boxes by selecting them and pressing Delete or Backspace on your keyboard. These guides will now indicate the spine location on your cover page. Now that we have our spine guides in place, we're going to add 2 more guides to each side to indicate the 10 mm safe area. We're going to use the same rectangle frame tool technique we used earlier to measure out the spine. head over to the toolbar again and select the rectangle frame tool, or press F on your keyboard. Click anywhere on the page and wait for the rectangle frame dialog box to appear. Type in 10 mm into both the width and height boxes and hit OK or Enter on your keyboard. A perfect 10 mm by 10 mm box outline will appear on your page. Hop back over to the toolbar and click on the selection tool, or press V on your keyboard. Select the box outline and drag it over to the first guide and line up the right edge of the box with the guide. Once in place, grab a new guide from the ruler on the left-hand side and line it up with the left edge of the box outline, like so. Using the same box, select it again and drag it to the opposite side of the spine guide, but this time lining the left-hand edge up with the guide. Once in place, release the box and drag another guide from the ruler and line up the guide with the right-hand side of the box. Now the guide is in place, you can delete the box by making sure it's still selected and hitting backspace or delete on your keyboard. Now that the spine and safe area guides have been set up on your first page, we're going to copy and paste them in the same place on the second cover page. With the selection tool still active, click and drag your cursor across all 4 guides and then release. You will notice that the guides have changed color. This means the guides are now selected. If they don't change color, your guides could be locked. You can quickly unlock them by holding Ctrl or Command on a Mac, Alt and pressing semicolon on your keyboard. Once you have the guide selected, hold down Ctrl or Command on Mac and hit C. This will copy the guides and save them to your clipboard. Scroll down onto your second page and click anywhere on the artboard. On your keyboard, hold down Ctrl, Alt and Shift and then hit V, or alternatively click on Edit in the top navigation bar, scroll down and click on Paste in Place. This will place your guides in the exact same position as the first page. Now that all of our cover guides are done, the last thing we need to do to complete our setup is our inner pages safe area guides. If you scroll through the remaining inner pages, you will notice that they all have the pink margin guide set to 3 mm on the top, left and bottom sides, and 10 mm on the right side. We need that 10 mm margin guide to alternate from left to right through the remaining pages. This will help indicate which side the spine is on, and prevent any important information from falling into the gutter. In order to achieve this, all we have to do is head over to the Pages panel on the right-hand side and click on page 3. On your keyboard, hold down Ctrl or Command if you're on a Mac and scroll through the pages, clicking on every remaining odd number page right to the end, like so. Once all the odd number inner pages are selected, head to the top navigation bar and click on Layout. Scroll down to Margins and Columns and click. When the Margins and Columns dialog box appears, the first thing you want to do is make sure the chain link icon is unlinked under the Margins heading. Once you're sure it is unlinked, you can go ahead and type 10 mm in the left text field and 3 mm in the right one, and then hit OK. If you scroll through your inner pages now, you will notice that the pink margin guide alternates between the left and right sides. Your InDesign document is now fully set up and ready for you to design your perfect bound book. If, like me, you like to design your books as double-page spreads, you can easily set up your document so that the pages are positioned this way. If this is something you want to set up, head back across to the Pages panel on the left-hand side and select all the inner pages by clicking on page 3, holding down Shift on your keyboard and clicking on your last inner page. Once all the inner pages are selected, bring your cursor up to the small hamburger menu in the Pages panel in the right-hand corner and click. Navigate your way down to allow Documents pages to shuffle and untick this selection. This will allow the inner document pages to be moved around and positioned freely. You will now have to manually click and drag the pages in the Pages panel so that they sit next to each other in the right order. Start with selecting page 5 and dragging that up onto the right-hand side of page 4. Be sure to leave page 3 and your last page by themselves, as these are the first and last pages of your book. Their facing pages are the inside front cover, page 2 of this document. Continue down your Pages panel, clicking and dragging odd number pages and placing them on the right-hand side of even number pages until you reach the bottom. When you're finished, you will notice that you now have a series of double-page spreads with all the pink margin guides in the right place, showing 10 mm from the gutter. You're now free to go away and design your perfect bound book however you like, within the confines of the guides you have just set up. Once you've finished your design, come back to the last part of this tutorial and I will show you how to export your file for print. Now that you have finished your design and you're ready to export your artwork for print, click on File in the top left-hand corner of the top navigation and scroll down and click on Export. Alternatively, hit Ctrl or Command if using a Mac and E on your keyboard. This will open an export dialog box in the form of a Finder window. Navigate the Finder window and choose somewhere on your computer to save your file. In the File Name text field box, name your file something that makes sense to you. Next, set the Save As type drop down to Adobe PDF Print, then hit Save. You will then be brought to the Export Adobe PDF dialog box. Here we will define the options that we recommend to successfully export your artwork for print. Starting from the top, there is a drop-down box next to the heading Adobe PDF Preset. Make sure this option is set to PDF AX1A 2001 and the standard drop-down box below is set to the same. Moving down, next you will want to make sure your pages are set to All and Export As is set to Pages. All other settings below this should be unticked. If your dialog box looks like the one on screen, you're good to move to the next step. The only other setting we need to make sure is set up correctly is Marks and Bleed. You will find these settings in the list located to the left of the dialog box. Click on the text that says Marks and Bleed and this will bring up the Marks and Bleed settings. The only box you need to have ticked in this area is Use Document Bleed Settings. We do not require any marks on your artwork, so all the other settings should be unticked. Once this is done, click Export and InDesign will export your perfect bound book artwork using the settings you have just defined to a PDF format. And there you have it! A complete tutorial on how to set up a perfect bound book for print. If you have any further questions, or need a little extra help setting up your artwork, please feel free to reach out to our expert studio team at artwork@route1print.co.uk, or give them a call on 0114 294 5026, where they will be more than happy to help. If you liked this tutorial and want to see others like it, let us know and we will look to create more. See you next time.